Good afternoon, namaskar, salam, thank you for being here. There's so many other places you could be this afternoon, but you've chosen to be with us as we speak about Hanuman. I will just very briefly introduce my wonderful panel. Phil Lutgendorf is Professor of Hindi and Modern Indian Studies and has taught at the University of Iowa's Department of Asian and Slavic Languages and Literature since 1985 at the University of Iowa. He's worked on Ramayana for as long as I have, almost. His book on the performance of the Ramayana, The Life of a Text, won the A.K. Kumaraswamy Prize of the Association of Asian Studies. He's received a Guggenheim Fellowship for his research on Hanuman, which has appeared as Hanuman's Tale, The Messages of a Divine Monkey. That book is available electronically in India. The other book you can buy at the store. Phil is currently translating Tulsi's Manas, Ramcharitmanas, for the Murthy Classical Library. I should say that I've known Philip since 1984. We were students together at the University of Chicago. And he used to ride his cycle in Hyde Park, and instead of saying hi and hello like everybody else, he would say Jai Bajrang Bali. So Phil, for the last 30-odd years, has been most certainly my Bajrangi Bhaijan.
But I am not Salman Khan, unfortunately.
My other panelist, Shubha Vilas, is an author, motivational speaker, spiritual lifestyle coach, and a storyteller. He's the author of the best-selling books, Open-Eyed Meditations and Ramayana, The Game of Life. The USP of his seminars and workshops is the application of scriptural wisdom in day-to-day living, while his books provide deep insights on contemporary subjects such as how human relationships work or how they fail, how leaders can maximize their potential, and how ancient epics hold immediate relevance to modern life. My name is Arshia, and we're going to do now an Apna Apna Parichay. We will talk...
You should say a little bit about your own Ramayana publications,
okay.
which are extensive.
Thank you, Philip. So I've been working on Ramayana since 1984. My dissertation, my PhD dissertation was on Hanuman. So that's why I have the right to moderate this panel. It's 20 years since my translation of Valmiki was published. And I've stayed with Ramayana since then. Now, this is my story of my life and why I'm involved with Hanuman. But if you ask my mother, she'll say, oh, poor thing, you know, she got bitten by a monkey when she was 3 years old. But she had to work with Ramayana. Hanuman had to spend I had to spend my life with Hanuman. So that is me and Hanuman. I think each of us has a very special Hanuman story like that. So a little bit about yourself and your relationship with Hanuman.
So my relationship with Hanuman began right from my childhood, just like Arshia. But my relationship was very different. My father used to read the Sundarkand of Ramayana every single day. And we had a very beautiful painting of Hanumanji in our altar. And we had a ritual. Every single day, he would finish a certain section of Sundarkand, and he would put a dot on Hanuman's tail. So there's a long tail, a Chandan Tika on Hanuman's tail. And when the tail gets completely filled with the Chandan Tika, we would have a festival that day. So for me, and so we would make mala of vadas, you know, and put it around Hanumanji. So for us, Hanuman was that person who would bring us a lot of joy into our life. Because every few days we would get a big festival to celebrate at home. Of course, my grandmother, she narrated stories of Hanuman and Ramayana. I probably have heard from my grandmother hundreds and hundreds of times the stories from the Ramayana and Hanuman's life. That became the foundation of whatever I write today.
You've incorporated many of your grandmother's stories, Dadi Ma Ki Kahaniya, in your book, I know, yeah. My story is, of course, different. I'm, born and raised in the United States. But I came to India in 1971, fell in love with the culture, began studying Hindi in 1975, eventually went to university and did a PhD. And I read Ramayana for the first time in Chicago while I was a student at University of Chicago, and learned how to recite also. I had a teacher who insisted that we do matlab paat class mein. हम रामायण माने धुन के अनुसार गाते थे क्लास में मंगल भवने अमंगल हारी ऐसा हाँ द्रवहु सदशरथ अजिर विहारी right. So everyone knows that. But I had the opportunity to spend a year in Benares, 1982 to 83, working on Ramayana performance and working with a great range of Ramayanis and Vyasas and scholars and devotees, bhaktas. And of course, when you work on Ramayana, Hanuman is always there, right? Jahan bhi Ram hai, Ramayan hai, Hanuman to hota hai. Hanuman upasthit hai. Yahan bhi honge. So, gradually, the idea of Hanuman Bhakti, Hanuman's popularity, Hanuman ki lokpriyata, became very, very clear to me. And in fact, towards the end of my research, this very old Ramayani that I was very close to, he was like a guru to me. He was a guru to me, and helped me a great deal. And one day, he says to me, actually, he said sort of like chupke, he says, actually Ram is not that popular. The सबसे लोकप्रिय जो है रामायण में वो राम जी नहीं है, हनुमान जी है. And he went on and he said, देखो कितने मंदिर हैं रामचंद्र जी के काशी में, बहुत कम. कितने मंदिर हैं हनुमान जी के, हर कोने कोने पर है, right? So there were temples to Hanuman on every corner. So that got me started on 16 years of research, which produced the book Hanuman's Tale.
There I am. We all have stories of Hanuman in our lives. I mean, I remember, for me, one of the most breathtaking, literally, incidents was that when I'd finished translating my Ramayana, and this is 20 years ago, right? So it's still a manuscript, and it still has to be actually sent to the publisher. And the package was on my dining table, and I was waiting for the courier to come. And Sandhya ka vakt tha, that dhundlani hui roshni, it was a strange twilight time. And I heard my husband from the other room screaming, right? And I thought, oh my God, something has happened to him. And I went outside, and there was this huge monkey. Yeah, we lived in the middle of the city. We lived in Bangalore on Cunningham Road, if you know what that is. There was a big tree outside our window. There was this huge monkey sitting on the dining table with his hand on the Ramayana manuscript, right? And even before we could react, he had just walked through the house and exited through the back veranda, right? So now you know why he is the most beloved. Ramji never came to bless my manuscript. It was Hanuman. But Shubh, why do you think, what is it about Hanuman that makes him so beloved? I mean, he's beloved to us, that we know, but in a larger, more general sense.
My understanding is that Hanumanji is one such person who is a combination of opposites. And because he is a combination of so many opposites, he is very attractive. So you find in him strength also, there is sweetness also. You find in him humility also, there is gravity also. You find in him traditional wisdom also, and there's a lot of innovation in the way he deals. You find in him fierce determination also, but at the same time you'll find in him gentle humility also. I'll share one story of Hanuman's life, and that really shows why Hanuman is more popular than Lord Ram also, in the sense, what is Ram's opinion about Hanuman. This is a folk tale which is very interesting and very sweet, one of my favorite stories of Hanuman. One time, Narad Muni came to Hanumanji and he asked him that, do you know there are so many devotees of Lord Vishnu, who is the most popular? Or rather, who is the most dear to Lord Vishnu? Hanumanji said, why should we speculate? Why didn't you go and ask Lord Ram for his diary? He has a diary, you ask Ram for a diary. In that diary, you will find the names. So Narad Muni went to Lord Ram and he said, my dear Lord, do you have a diary? I never knew there was a diary existing. So Ram pointed out to one corner, there was one huge diary. He said, read that. So Narad Muni went and opened the diary. The first name was Narada. So he became really thrilled. And he went and opened all the pages, read every name that was written. After he finished, he realized that Hanuman's name is not there at all. So he went very sadly to Hanumanji and he said, my dear Hanuman, I saw the diary. I'm happy to tell you my name is first, but your name is not there. So Hanumanji said, did you see the small diary? So now Narad Muni was really confused. So he went to Lord Ram and he said, what is this small diary? So Ram removed the small diary from really close to his heart. And Narad Muni opened the diary. The first name was Hanuman. And in that diary, his name was not there. So Narad Muni was so confused and bewildered. He asked Ram, what's going on here? What is the small diary and what is this big diary? Some names here, some names there. So Ram said, the big diary contains the names of all those devotees who remember me constantly. And the small diary contains the names of all those devotees whom I remember constantly. So if Ram is remembering Hanuman constantly, then naturally he is more popular than Hanuman also. He is popular in Ram's heart. So because of this combination of these multiple facets that Hanuman has, intelligence, strength, at the same time, innocence and sweetness, that makes Hanumanji so popular.
And of course, people often express this with the phrase Shakti Bhakti, Shakti or Bhakti. Dono hai Hanuman mein. That was a very common answer that I got when I asked people why they were so devoted to Hanuman. Usme Shakti or Bhakti dono hai. And that you've explained that very, very beautifully.
Yeah, obviously Hanuman is, one of the great joys of Hanuman is that he is always contemporary. Who knew that Ramji had a diary? A diary is such a sort of modern phenomenon. But I want to go from this particular story. Oh, there's one more thing. I think one of the reasons why Hanuman is so beloved and so popular, he's so funny. When you see Ram Leela and all, the biggest applause, the biggest shout is when Hanuman appears on stage. Everybody just feels like, oh, that's for me. Ramji can be a little bit distant, but Hanuman is always close. But let's go into stories for a little bit. Because there are thousands and thousands of stories about Hanuman. But what is interesting, which Phil and I have been talking about for many years now, is how many birth stories Hanuman has. Depending on who you are and what text you're reading, Hanuman will have many different fathers. Some of us know that in Valmiki Ramayana, he's Pavanasuta. He is the son of Vayu. Of course, his father is also Kesari, the monkey whom his mother Anjana is married to. And then further still, there are other fathers that we'll talk about. But Phil, why does Hanuman have so many different birth stories? Why does he have so many fathers and just one lovely mother?
So of course, the big four are, as Arshia said, Vayu or Pavan, and Kesari, and then Shiva, of course, Shankara Suvana, Kesari Nandana, and then in addition, there's this relationship to Ram because there's a famous story in which Hanuman's mother becomes pregnant after swallowing some of the payasam that came out of King Dasharatha's Putreshti Yajna, which is taken by a giant bird. It's Garuda in your version. But it's in the story, it's not identified as to which bird it is. But anyway, this giant bird that takes it and drops it, and it falls into Anjana's mouth. So in that version of the story, Hanuman is actually bye-bye to Ram. So he has a very close relationship. But I used a lot of Hindi story collections, these kind of books you can buy in the bazaar, Hanuman Charitra, Pavanasuta Hanuman, two Atma Kathas. There are two Upanyas form Atma Kathas, autobiographies of Hanuman that have been written, which I thought was very interesting, in which Hanuman tells his own story. And these are not little books, these are 400-page Hindi novels in which Hanuman tells his life story. In any case, it's very common that you get 3 or even 4 birth stories in a book like that. And there's no attempt to say this one is right, this one is wrong. They're all presented to us. And I think the reason is that each one tells us something different about Hanuman. You could say, to use a modern analogy, that each one is an important thing on Hanuman's CV. Hanuman's bio. That, you know, from Pavan, after all, he gets the tremendous strength. And he's the half-brother of Bhima from Mahabharata. From Shankar, of course, he gets, you know, tremendous strength and gyan. And from, what's the third one? From Ram, yeah, well, of course, from Ram, you can say he gets the bhakti side. Kesari is the kapitva, his monkeyness, right.
Shubh, how does this work for you? What do these multiple stories of Hanuman's birth mean for someone like yourself?
So, the way I understand the Vedic culture is that the Vedic culture talks about cyclic life. That means the yugas are cyclic. It's not a linear concept. So the modern understanding is a linear concept, but the Vedic understanding is a cyclic concept. So the same Ramayana happens multiple times in multiple yugas. So different stories of Hanuman are from different yugas, which are all put together. So it's not that all of them happened in one time, but it could have happened in different yugas. That is one understanding. But personally, what I would like to really understand, or rather give this thought, is that the Vedic culture or Vedic scriptures, they don't really focus on facts so much. We are not really concerned about facts so much, but about impact. Hanuman is a personality. Whether we believe in this story or that story, that's not the matter. The thing is, look at the amount of impact that this personality has done in this world. The amount of impact that Hanuman has created in society. So life is not governed by frozen history or by poetic fiction, but it is governed by inspiration. So each of the stories in the Vedic culture is to help us remain inspired. So stories have two things to offer us. One is entertainment, and second is enlightenment. And the way I see every story of Hanuman, every story of the Ramayana, every story of the Mahabharata is that there is a hidden Saraswati within every story. In Prayag, Allahabad, we find Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, but we don't find Saraswati river anywhere. It's called a Gupta Nadi. It's a hidden river. The same thing with the Ramayana and Mahabharata stories. The stories are all there, flowing like Ganga and Yamuna. But within every of those stories, there is a hidden Saraswati, which are lessons, which we can learn, and the wisdom of these stories that the stories have to offer us. That's my understanding of Hanuman.
You can see why Shubha Vilas is an inspirational speaker, right? You know, I have a much simpler response to these multiple stories. I think Hanuman is so beloved that everybody wants to own him. Vaishnava people want him, Shaiva people want him, ordinary people like us also want him. And I find myself repeating myself, but the thing about Hanuman that is so clear is this intimacy. You know, everybody thinks, "Arey, yahi baita hai, you know, mera bhai hai, mera rakshak hai." But you know, Hanuman, as we all know, his blessings have many forms and many aspects. We know that he is akhadas. In akhadas, Hanuman is the Ishta Devata. We also know that Hanuman is a healer. So Phil, I know you want to tell us something about Hanuman's healing powers, and particularly in relation to Bhuta Preta and yeah.
Well, of course, there's Nase Roga Hare Sabapirda, Jo Sumire Hanumata Balavira, right? And of course, Bhuta Pisach Nikata Nahi Avai Mahavira Jabanama Sunave. Those lines in the Chalisa point to Hanuman's role as a healer of illness, of all kinds of illnesses, and of course people particularly consider him a healer of mental illnesses. What would today be called mental illnesses, but are sometimes understood in Indian culture in terms of bhoot pret, ghosts and spirits troubling people. Bhoot, of course, literally something from the past. So you can give it a very psychological understanding as well. Something unresolved from the past, which bhuta literally means from Sanskrit. And there are shrines. I'm sure some people here know about Mehendipur, which is in Rajasthan, not so far from here, where Hanuman, Balaji, the Rajasthani name for Hanuman, is particularly in charge of healing and curing. And you can find the source of this in the Ramayana itself, in the story of the Sanjeevani Bhuti, Hanuman's journey to the Himalayas to get the healing herbs for Lakshman. And also in the very, very famous story, which is not found in the Valmiki Ramayana, but is so common in the last 1,000 years, and that is the story of Ehiravana, or sometimes Mehiravana, and sometimes both, Ehiravana and Mehiravana. But this kind of super Ravana who Ram can't kill. And Ram and Lakshman are kidnapped by him, and they're taken down to Patal Lok. They're taken down to the netherworld, and only Hanuman is capable of rescuing them. And he undertakes this incredible journey. I call it a mini Ramayana, a mini epic within the Ramayana. The story of Hanuman's journey to Patal Lok to find and to rescue Ram and Lakshman. But you can also understand that as a shamanic journey. Hanuman becomes like a shaman, a healer, traditional healer who goes down to the netherworld to rescue souls who have become trapped down there and bring them back up to the light.
Shubha Vilas, Hanuman as a healer, Hanuman as an inspiration for pahalwans and akhadas, what is your take?
So I would like to share two stories of Hanuman in connection with this concept of healing. Again, as I said, physical healing is easy, but mental healing is difficult. My understanding of Hanuman as somebody who can help us handle negativity and mental illnesses is something very important that we should learn. One, of course, is the traditional, very straightforward story of Hanuman's fight with Shani. Once Shani approached Hanuman in Kali Yuga, Hanuman was much older now. So he told Hanuman that your time is over. Now Kali has come and now it is my time to reign. Hanumanji was not really interested in picking up a fight. He's old. He was just avoiding the discussion. But Shani kept pushing him. He tugged. So Hanumanji suddenly, he jumped up, tied up Shani with his tail and flew with him, and he kept banging Shani on different rocks. So Shani was really getting dizzy. And then finally Hanuman came back, dropped him, and he said, "What were you saying about who's more powerful?" So Shani was bewildered, but at the same time he was still angry. So he told Hanumanji that your physical power may be great, but my ability to affect the mind is much greater. So he said, in Kali Yuga, in this age, every human being, every 22.5 years, I influence them for 7.5 years. So Hanumanji said, how do you do that? He said, first 2.5 years, I mess up their mind totally. Second 2.5 years, I mess up their stomach totally. And third 2.5 years, I make them wander aimlessly. And after 7.5 years, they are completely messed up. Hanumanji said, why don't you try it with me? I don't know how your process works. Yeah. So Shani entered into Hanumanji's mind and tried to mess up Hanumanji's mind. Hanumanji did a very simple thing. He lifted a mountain and kept it on his head. And the mountain was so heavy. Hanumanji was unaffected, but Shani was feeling all the weight on his body. And Shani was screaming from inside. Hanumanji said, I'm feeling a little more headache. He took a second mountain and put on top of that mountain. And soon there were 4 mountains on top of Hanumanji's head. Hanumanji was feeling no pain, but Shani was dying literally. And finally, Shani begged Hanuman, please, please let me out. And then Hanumanji let him out, dropped the mountains. And Shani, he fell at the feet of Hanumanji, begged forgiveness. And Hanumanji told him that you should not trouble not just me, but anyone who is connected to me. And therefore, Hanumanji is very popular among people who are having, illnesses. And of course, Shani had a lot of backache and headache and all those aches. And therefore, Hanumanji said, all my devotees will get you oil for massaging, So that's the first story. But the second story, which is more important for us in our lives, is something that is very subtle. In the Ramayana, we find that at some point, the monkey army had reached the southern tip of the Indian Ocean, and they had an 800-mile ocean to cross. And each one started talking about how much they can do. Somebody said, I can do 20 miles. Somebody said, I can do 100 miles. Angad said, I can do 800 miles, but I can't come back. So all of them were totally bewildered, and nobody was able to figure out who's going to do it. At that point of time, Jambavan, who was like the leader, he was a bear among the monkeys there, he spotted Hanuman and he realized that he is the one who actually can do it, but he's just so humble, he's sitting quietly, not speaking up. So Jambavan goes to him and inspires Hanuman like anything. And from that moment onwards, so Hanuman had a curse that he would forget all his strength till somebody reminds him. So Jambavan does the job of reminding Hanuman, and Hanuman, grows up, he becomes huge, and he then remembers all his strengths. From that time onwards in the Ramayana, we find Hanuman as a hero of the Ramayana. But how many times after that do we find the name of Jambavan being mentioned? Couple of times, not more than that. So, if you look at Jambavan from a modern point of view, being a modern corporate leader, and Hanuman is somebody who's under him, look at the way in which this project is carried out. So if Jambavan was insecure in his mind, which is a mental illness, he would have never inspired Hanuman and reminded him of his powers. He would have said, hell with the project, forget Sita, if I can't do it, nobody should be able to do it. He would have just sat quietly. But by making Hanuman the hero, Hanuman the achiever, so for the world, Hanuman is a hero, but for Hanuman, Jambavan is a hero. Because Jambavan taught Hanuman the most valuable lesson of how to overcome the whole concept of being the doer. So in the Ramayana, Jambavan inspired Hanuman to be the doer, but the same Hanuman in the Mahabharata, if you see, what is Hanuman's role in the Mahabharata? He sits on top of a flag. Nothing. The hero of the Ramayana is doing nothing in the Mahabharata. But Hanuman inspires Bhima to become the hero of the Mahabharata. So essentially, from these two stories, we can learn how to deal with this greatest mental illness of thinking that I am the doer. So in essence, Hanumanji, he deals with mental illness through Shani in a powerful way, but he deals with this mental illness of being the doer in a very humble way. So for us in our lives, we need both. We need a powerful way of dealing with the mental illness, which is what Hanumanji provides us, but we also need a humble way of dealing with the mental illness, which is what the story of Hanumanji giving up provides us.
I want to add something to that story of Hanuman in the Ramayana. He forgets his powers, and because he's cursed. And the reason he's cursed is because when he's a small monkey, and he gets all these powers after he's fallen and broken his face, all the gods give him these special powers and all of that, and he's so mischievous. He sort of harasses the sages, he disrupts their sacrifices, he throws their flowers around, he jumps up and down, in front of the yajnas. And so the sages curse him at that point, that you will forget your powers until you really need them, and somebody will remind you of them. And I want to always keep this aspect of Hanuman in mind, that he is very, very much like us. He has many, many human emotions that he manifests. Sometimes he's just silly. He's not able to concentrate. So for all that Hanuman is powerful and inspirational and you know, able to accomplish a lot of things, I think Hanuman also reminds us what our essential nature can be. Yeah, so in that sense, I don't think he's a warning, but I think it's also these parts of Hanuman that endear him to children. So whoever you are, if you're a young person, you'll be excited by the fact that Hanuman is mischievous and, you know, throws flowers around. If you're a young person who's perhaps a sports person, an athlete, you'll be inspired by Hanuman's strength and power. And as you get older, perhaps you'll seek the meanings that Shubha Vilas is suggesting, you know, for how you might deal with your life. But Phil, you have a story you want to tell. This is becoming a Hanuman katha, which is kind of fantastic.
This is becoming a katha, yeah. But I have a favorite story which has to do with Hanuman's humility, Shubha. And it also has to do with who wrote the original Ramayana. And of course it's a modern story because it involves writing. And we know that Valmiki, in the Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki composes the Ramayana in his mind, and then he teaches it to Lava and Kusha, and there's nothing about writing in the Valmiki. But in any case, this is a modern story, but it's a beautiful story. You know, after Ramji returns to Ayodhya and he becomes king and various things happen, not always so happy, Hanuman is there in court, and Hanuman is becoming kind of sad and gloomy, especially after, we won't talk about this, but Sita Tyag ke baad. And so Hanuman asks Ram's permission, and he goes away for some time. And to pass the time, he begins writing the Ramayana story on the Himalayas, on a peak of the Himalayas, using his nail on the rock. He begins inscribing the story of Ram. At the same time, it so happens Valmiki is composing his Ramayana. And Narada, or probably some mischief monger like Narada, you know, goes and listens to some of Valmiki's katha, and the Valmiki says, you know, how do you like it, Devarshi? And Narada says, well, you know, it's nice, but you know there's a better one. There's a better one being written by an eyewitness to the story. And Valmiki says, really? And Narad says, हाँ, Hanuman ji likh rahe hain Himalaya par. You know, so Valmiki is very curious, and he gets transported by, I don't know, Garuda or somebody. He gets transported to the place and put down on a cliff, and he starts reading he asks Hanuman's permission, and then he starts reading the Ramayana that Hanuman has composed. And when he finishes it, he begins to cry. And Hanuman says, oh, what's the matter? Valmiki ji, what's the matter? Kya hua? You know, are you unhappy? Are you sad? Is it not good? Is it bad? And Valmiki says, you know, no, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful that nobody will ever be interested in my Ramayana. And Hanuman says, really? Is it like that? And he just immediately takes the whole mountain, picks up the whole mountain, and flies out into the middle of the ocean and drops it into the ocean and says, Jai Siya Ram. And then he comes back and he bows at Valmiki's feet and he says, now nobody will not read your Ramayana. And Valmiki is horrified. He says, what have you done? You know, but it's sort of a beautiful story because it gives us the idea that the Mool Ramayana, the original Ramayana, is lost.
You know, that's like so many other great stories in the Hindu tradition. I have another version of this story, and it's the story of the Hanuman Nataka, yeah, which is an incomplete Ramayana. It's a Nataka, it's a play, which of course has been written by Hanuman, and the story is that he was sitting there and writing his Ramayana, this beautiful, beautiful Nataka, better than Kalidasa, better than Bhasa, better than everybody, better than Uttara Ramacharita, the best Nataka in the history of the world. And somebody came to him and said, Arey bhaiya, you know, Valmiki is also writing. He says, oh, Valmiki is writing it. He is a great Kavi. His will be better. So he sits on top of a mountain and page by page, he throws it, and his father, Vayu, picks up the pages and takes them somewhere we know not where. This is another, just that moment where you realize that, my God, these traditions are so rich in storytelling. And because they tell the story differently each time, it's very clear to me, at least, that these are stories that include everybody. If you can tell a Hanuman story, Hanuman is yours. Yeah, there's not one singular version that we all need to know and repeat and, you know, teach our children and all of that. So now all of us are telling stories about Hanuman and mountains, right? आपकी कहानी में वो शनि के सर पे, अपने सर पे इतने पर्वत लगा देता है कि शनि को दिक्कत होती है. You're full of mountain stories, but obviously the famous mountain story is the Sanjeevani, when he brings the mountain top back to Lanka to revive Lakshmana, who's been felled by Indrajit's Nagpash. But I know, Shubha Vilas, we were talking earlier, the first mountain that Hanuman encounters is Mainaka, and that is during his leap from the shore of the ocean to the island of Lanka. And I know that you have an allegorical reading of this leap. So do you want to tell us about that?
So as I was saying that the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, they have some hidden wisdom beneath the storyline. So the way I like to see it is as multiple layers to the same story. If you're a small child and you just like entertaining stories, you'll get that. But if you want something more deeper, you'll get that. And if you want something even more deeper, you'll get that also. So depending on how much depth you want to go into these stories, there is available. So here is a section of the Ramayana, which is a part of the Sundarkand of the Ramayana. The jump of Hanuman to find Mother Sita in Lanka. There are 4 obstacles that he comes across on the path to find Sita. And these 4 obstacles are the very 4 obstacles that we come across when we try to go towards a destination, when we try to achieve success in any project or any venture that we want to go towards. So when Hanuman makes his jump, the first obstacle that comes is a golden mountain named Mainak. So right from the middle of the ocean, this mountain rises, and the personification of this mountain, the deity of the mountain, Mainak, he invites Hanuman to come on his mountain, take some rest, and eat some fruits, drink some water, and then go ahead on his journey. Hanuman, when he hears this proposal of Mainak, he tells him, I'm sorry, till I reach my destination, I cannot take any rest. No break for me. Mainak said, you have a long way to go. Why don't you take a little rest and go? Hanuman just respectfully touches the mountain with his feet and jumps away. Mainak is very impressed with Hanuman and he blesses him that he will be successful. So Mainak represents comforts that come into our life. So when we are venturing out on any project, on any venture, the first thing that comes is you have a long distance to go, so take it slowly. Itna jaldi kya hai? Aram se jao. So most people, when they are trying to reach out to a very, almost an impossible destination, impossible venture, the tendency is to take it lightly. The tendency is to accept comforts because there is a sense of feeling of insecurity or feeling of, that I have to go so far, might as well enjoy on my way. People like Hanuman don't focus on the comforts on the path, but they focus on the destination. As Hanuman goes further, a huge demoness, her name is Surasa, she comes up from the middle of the ocean with her mouth wide apart. And she tells Hanuman that Lord Brahma has given me this benediction that anyone who passes over this ocean becomes my food. So you have to become my food and enter my mouth. Hanumanji says, I don't care for any benediction, I have to go to my destination. Surasa opens her mouth, bigger than Hanuman's form. Hanuman, he takes double size. He becomes 10 yojanas in size. Surasa expands her mouth and makes 20 yojanas. Hanumanji makes himself 30 yojanas. Surasa makes herself 50 yojanas. Finally, Hanumanji becomes 100, huge. And Surasa becomes that size. And instantly, in the next moment, Hanumanji becomes the size of a fly. Enters her mouth and comes out. And tells her, Brahmaji's benediction is kept. I've entered your mouth and I've come out, now you let me go. Surasa becomes so impressed with Hanumanji's intelligence. She blesses him that he will be successful. Surasa represents the competitive mentality. Every time we want to be successful, we want to venture out towards any goal, what we end up doing is competing with others who are on the way. Try to show others that I am better than you. So Surasa was becoming bigger, Hanumanji was becoming bigger, Surasa was becoming even more bigger, Hanumanji was becoming even more bigger. There's no end to competition. That's when Hanumanji realized, why am I wasting time competing with her? The way you deal with competition is, you become small, that means Hanumanji became humble, and he actually acted mature. In being small, it's not about your weakness, it's a strength of your maturity. Hanumanji told Surasa, I'm sorry, my goal is not to prove that I'm better than you, my goal is to reach my destination. And that's the way in which we deal with competition. As Hanumanji goes further, and the third obstacle that he comes across is another demoness whose name is Lankini. So Hanumanji is flying, right in the middle of the journey, he freezes. He can't go back, he can't go ahead, he's just... Simika, what did I say? Oh, sorry. Simika. He just froze right in the middle. And he's wondering, what happened to my flight? And that's when he looks below and he sees this huge demoness named Simika who has held his shadow. So she has this particular siddhi by which she can control people by holding their shadows. So she was pulling Hanumanji down by holding his shadow. And Hanumanji was pulled down and she put Hanumanji in her mouth. Hanumanji went inside, tore open her belly and came out. Simhika represents envy. A person who is envious of another holds on to the shadow of the other. That means shadow represents faults of the person. So Simhika held on to the fault of Hanumanji, the shadow of Hanumanji, and pulled him down. A person who is envious of somebody who is flying very high, who's really soaring high, generally tries to find one weakness in that person, one fault in that person. And the entire focus is on that fault, catches hold of that fault, and pulls that person down. Hanumanji, the way he dealt with envy is the way in which we can deal with envy. Envy cannot be used positively. The only way to deal with envy is destroy it. And Simika, that's what Hanumanji did. He destroyed her. If you want to actually deal with envy, overcome envy, don't give it any place in your heart. Hanumanji goes further, and the fourth personality he beats is Lankini. She is the gatekeeper of Lanka. She is like the presiding deity of Lanka. She tells Hanumanji that you cannot enter Lanka without the permission of Ravan. Hanumanji has taken a very small form, is trying to enter, Lankini stops him. And Hanumanji tells her that I don't care, I have to go in, I have a mission. So Lankini pushes him. Hanumanji gets so angry on her that he hits her very hard, tight slap. And Lankini falls down. And then a second later she gets up and she tells Hanumanji, welcome to Lanka. So Hanumanji is wondering, sudden transformation, So Lankini tells him that Brahmaji has given me a benediction. The day a monkey comes and slaps me, that day marks the end of Lanka. Lankini represents attachments. Each one of us have attachment to something or the other. Lankini represents attachment to land. Lankini represents attachment to a particular property, a place. She feels that she is the owner, she is the proprietor, she is the controller of the place. Hanumanji acts like a guru or a spiritual master. The role of the guru is not to fan your ego, but to hit at your attachments. The role of the guru is not to give you a goody-goody experience of what spirituality is. The role of the guru is to wake you up, and every time you hear a guru, at least one of your attachments have to be slapped. So I say that when you come to some kind of satsang program is like a boxing match. And Hanumanji is like the heavyweight guru. The word guru means heavy. And therefore, Hanumanji, just by one tight slap, Hanumanji gave her all the knowledge of the Vedas in one slap, the essence. And Lankini became detached totally. So these are 4 different stories we can learn and 4 different aspects we can learn. Sita represents the goal.
This is why I love Ramayana, because every time somebody tells it, it becomes a different story. Time now for you all to join our conversation. Please raise your hands. The gentleman in the brown shirt. 2 rows down. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Darpan Majumdar. My question is one is about one connection of brahmacharya with Hanumana, and the second is the importance of bhakti bhav, with I think which is quite very interesting in the way that constantly there has been never ever a question by Hanumana to Sri Ram. And I also feel there may be a connection between the bhakti and the brahmacharya. So if you can throw some light on that.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to give the brahmacharya question to the brahmachari, and I'm going to give the bhakti question to the bhakta. So you first, please, Shubha Vilas.
So essentially, for, I mean, there are many people who say that there are different ways of seeing whether Hanumanji is a brahmachari or no. Essentially, at least the Valmiki Ramayana speaks about Hanumanji, it doesn't speak about Hanumanji having a wife or anything like that. So Hanumanji is considered to be a brahmachari, definitely. And so essentially the whole idea of the concept of Hanumanji being a celibate is the concept of Hanumanji. If you see it from the practical point of view, from Lord Shiva's origination point of view, so Hanumanji is Rudra Tattva, he's Lord Shiva's incarnation. So when Lord Shiva decided to come as Hanuman, as Rudra Avatar, that time Parvati Devi, Sati also wanted to join in. Parvati Devi also wanted to join Lord Shiva in his mission. And Shiva tells, I'm sorry, I want to focus on serving Lord Ram, so I cannot take you along with me. Otherwise I will take care of you. So that time Parvati Devi tells him that, don't worry, you go and you serve Lord Ram with focus. I will be your tail. So Sati, she becomes the tail of Hanumanji, and therefore the tail of Hanumanji is a highly active tail, So therefore Hanumanji, in one sense, he is a brahmachari, definitely. But if you see it from Shiva's point of view, Parvati Devi also is with him all the time.
So we know that outside of India, especially as we go further east in Southeast Asia and all the way up to Indonesia, we know that Hanuman is anything but a brahmachari. But in India, Phil, is brahmacharya a critical part of the nature of Hanuman Bhakti? Is it an essential part
Of Hanuman Bhakti? I wasn't entirely sure I understood your question. Yeah.
Bhakti,
Yeah.
what I wanted is that a bhakti which Hanumana had for Sri Ram, and there was never a question by Hanuman or what Sri Ram asked him. So was he a guru or was he a Bhagavan from Hanuman perspective? And this bhakti, is it connected to brahmacharya in some form?
Okay, got the question. Let's just keep moving.
I think
Well,
I should.
I can say, I mean, that, right from the Valmiki Ramayana, which doesn't speak about Hanuman's private life really, but it's clear that Hanuman is completely focused on Ram. And in the Valmiki, in the Kishkinda Kanda, Hanuman identifies himself as the servant of Sugriva. That's how he initially introduces himself to Ram. But after the leap to Lanka, the beginning, the beautiful first sarga of Sundarakanda, which is the longest sarga in the entire Valmiki Ramayana, this fantastic journey which includes the obstacles that Shubhaji so beautifully gave us this beautiful bhav on. After that, when Ravana asks him who he is, he announces himself, I am the servant of Lord Ram. And you can say that at that moment he becomes a Ram Bhakta, he becomes and of course, people consider him to be the supreme Ram Bhakta. I just want to quote one verse from Tulsi Manas, which I begin my book with. I use it as a sort of epigram at the beginning of the book. It's from Uttarakhand, spoken by Kak Busundi to Garuda, and he says, More mana prabhu asabisavasa, Ram te adhika Rama karadasa. So the bhakta, the servant, becomes in some sense greater than the master that he serves in that bhav.
Yeah. Next question, please. The young lady in the black here. Keep it short. We have very little time.
Hi, yeah. My question is, we know Hanuman is the son of Vayu and so is Bhima. And say in the Mahabharata, Arjuna is Surya's son, right? Why is it that...
Indra's.
My bad, Indra. So why is it that Hanuman is revered and worshipped as, God, and Arjuna or Bhima aren't?
See, the thing is, Arjuna and Bhima are as worshipable as Hanuman. There is no doubt about it. But the fact is that Hanuman is somebody that people can relate to in a more enthusiastic way, So now it's up to individuals how they want to venerate. If you ask me, I worship Bhima and Arjun as much as I worship Hanumanji. Now, yes, the temples of Hanumanji are there all across. That's a different thing. But as far as how much you respect each of these personalities, I feel they are equally respectable and equally worshipped, basically.
I have a different answer to that question. I think Hanuman, rather than being a god, Hanuman is a way to God. Yeah, he's always outside the Rama temples. He is the paradigmatic bhakta. He is the person that we all strive to be. He lives in Rama's heart. So I don't think Hanuman is quite a god in the same way that Vishnu and Shiva and all of those other people are. I also think it's very important that Hanuman has the roop of a monkey. Yeah, that is critical. It's a little bit hard to think about worshipping Arjuna and Bhima. It's kind of easier to think about, taking a monkey very seriously. That says a lot about who we are as a people, yeah? Do you want to say something, Phil, or should we just go to the next one?
I was just going to say, Rama duare, tumara kavare, hota na agya binu paisare. That's, he's...
Next question, please.
Madhyam hai.
At the back, the guy in the white shirt waving the newspaper. Next to you, yeah.
Hi. First of all, I'm a big Mr. Hanuman fan, but I just have a question.
Did you just call him Mr. Hanuman?
Yeah, Mr. Hanuman.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, just checking.
So I read it somewhere that Mr. Hanuman was not actually a very big god or some extraordinary thing. He was just a monkey, but he did extraordinary things. So that's why he's regarded as a god or something like that.
Okay.
But like for an instance, when he
what's the question, please?
Yeah. So when he bought the Sanjeevani booty to save Mr. Lakshman, he actually didn't get a mountain. He got too many bushes for a normal monkey to carry. So it was said that you are carrying a mountain, Hanuman.
Okay, what's the question?
I just want to get your answer to this story. Is this the real thing or...
Got the question. Thank you, Shubh. Do you want to respond to that? Hanuman is considered great just because he did extraordinary things for a monkey.
So essentially, my understanding is the Ramayana gives flexibility. You can see the Ramayana the way you want to. Nobody's going to stop you. But the way I see Hanuman is something very interesting. When Sita saw Hanuman for the first time, he jumped in front of her. He had taken a very tiny form. And then he asked her, you come with me, I'll take you across the ocean. So Sita said, you're so small, how will you take me? Then Hanumanji showed his huge form. Sita was confused. Sita asked him, what is your original size? You're big sometimes, you're small sometimes. So Hanumanji gave a very interesting answer that really shows what he thinks about himself. Hanumanji told Mother Sita that my original size is I'm small, but for the service of Lord Ram, I can take any size.
Next question, please.
Since Hanumanji had a vardhan that he will never die, where is he? Is he
Right
here?
here. Right here. Can't you feel him?
Where is he?
Right
And why
here,
is
right
he not
now.
taking care of all those griefs you saw? He's going to take care.
Next question, please. In the front, the
good
gentleman
question.
with the blue badge.
Very upset and very confused the statement you given about that for you Bhim and Hanuman or Bhim or Arjun and Hanuman is the same. Frankly, it hurts me. But anyway, my question is that when all the devatas like Indras and all these things cannot win Ravan, but with Ram, Hanuman and all they have done it, and they were in the Satyug, and these people in Mahabharata, all these have killed their own brothers and they have all their politics and all these things. And Hanuman
Just
become
like
a
we're
brahmachari.
doing now.
So how can you compare Hanuman with Bhim or anybody else?
Okay, I
Arjun?
think that's a rhetorical question.
rhetorical
Yeah,
question.
so the next one, please, the gentleman in black standing up.
Good afternoon, sir and ma'am. My question is that in Ramayana we have many Kants, like starting from Bal Kant to the Uttarakhand. The name Sundar Kant that came into tradition. How does it came into tradition? Because there is nothing related to Sundar in that Kant.
Hanuman is Sundar. It's about him. It's Sundara is Hanuman.
So much has been said and written about that question, and there's a famous shloka which unfortunately I can't quote. Maybe you know it about Sundar. What isn't Sundar in Sundarakand? But I want to point out one thing. Sundarakand is the most beloved Kand of the Ramayana. It's the most beloved in Valmiki. Already we find many, many manuscripts of only Sundarakand that were copied. And we all know that Tulsi Manas, Sundarakand is the sabse lokpriya. It's very interesting. Sundarakand is the book of the Ramayana in which Rama is the least present.
Yes, sir.
Rama does the least. And the focus is on two characters, Sita and Hanuman. And they are very special characters, and their strength of character really gets a chance to come to the forefront in Sundarakand. And that is, I would say, very beautiful.
I have one more thought to add to this. My understanding is that quickly. Basically, three people are described as Sundar in the Sundarakand. One is Hanuman describes the beauty of Lord Ram to Sita. That is one aspect which is Sundar. The character of Mother Sita itself, that aspect is the Sundar. And the third is Hanumanji. He's also called as Sundar because of the beauty of his personality. Therefore, it is called as Sundarakand.
Okay, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you, Shubha Vilas. Thank you, Phil Lutgendorf. I just want to end this session with saying that three of us are bhaktas, but I would like to believe that we're bhaktas in the old-fashioned sense, that our love for Hanuman allows us to experience and share love for everybody. It doesn't matter whether they're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Isai, Dalit, or women. Yeah. So when you think about being a bhakta, think of bhakta in the largest, most beautiful way that you can. Thank you all very